Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad. As we get started, let us know where you're watching from. Love to welcome you here. If you are new, welcome. My name's Zach. I am the host here at the launch pad, and you are joining us for our live launch coverage of tonight's NASA SpaceX Crew-3 launch to the International Space Station, with expected docking tomorrow. So we hope you'll join us again then. If you're also new, welcome here at the launch pad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, and we believe that explorers can be both here on Earth and up in space, but we believe space is better together, and that's why we started the launch pad, and we invite you to be part of our community by engaging that subscribe button. It's totally free to do, to be active in the chat tonight, and if you want to go even further, take a moment, join our Discord, free to do so as well. Like any YouTuber, let's get it out of the way. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you'd like to support what we do, you can do through super chats, YouTube memberships, Patreon, all that stuff. It all goes back to making sure we bring you the best possible live launch testing coverage, exclusive interviews, and more, all right here on the launch pad. It's going to be a busy night. We've been live most of the day waiting for a possible static fire test. Now we're live for Crew-3, and later tonight I hope you'll join us again for our live Electron launch cover, as Rocket Lab for the first time has their helicopter on standby and perform all the recovery maneuvers except the actual catch movement. So we're very excited to have you with us, but for now you're joining us for our live coverage of SpaceX Crew-3. This is a live view out at Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Great to have all of you here. We got Thomas from Brock, Saskatchewan. We got Zoo from Ethiopia. Brian's in Georgia. Great to have you here. See a couple people asking what's on my shirt, or you might have noticed on our logo. Tomorrow, November 11th, here in Canada is Remembrance Day. Around the world, it's also Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, and a few other names for it, but it is a day specifically on the 11th day of the 11th month at 11 a.m. that we stop and remember all those that have fought for us, fought for our freedoms, who have lost their lives or paid sacrifices but still survived but had to live with those. So we wear the poppy here in Canada. Lots of people wear it in Europe as just a symbol of remembrance. We wear it for all of the beginning of November. I'm live on camera, so I'm going to be wearing it, and we thought we'd add it to our logo for here for today and tomorrow as well, just as a sign of we are utterly grateful. I come from a family that has served in a number of generations, so I can understand that sacrifice of having them gone, and my grandparents can understand it even more so, having had their parents as prisoners of war for over 4 years. So we've been touched by it, and we make sure we remember it every year. Of course, we remember it every day, but we make sure that we show that symbol. So that's why I am wearing that. If you're in Canada, you can pick one of them up from the Poppy Foundation. In Europe, I know there's a few places you can get them, just like at Christmas, where you kind of see the Santas for Santa's Anonymous collecting money sometimes outside of places. You can pick up poppies in Canada basically at any gas station, grocery store, school, fire hall, place like that. So that's what that poppy is there for. So thank you to any of you that are watching that have served, have family that have served or are serving. We know it's not easy, but important to remember that day and remember it every day. So I'm glad that someone asked that. Thank you. Who else we got here? We got Emilio in New Jersey. We've got Veterans Day. Yeah, that's another name. Number of places call different things, which I've always found very interesting. But glad that people are remembering it. We need to do so. Sometimes it gets forgotten, especially in the chaos of the world we live in, but important to do so. If you're just joining us, though, welcome. You're joining us for our live launch coverage of Crew-3 as we await their launch here tonight. We are seeing that NASA has brought up their full coverage here as well. They're getting ready for tonight's launch, currently targeting liftoff time 9:03 p.m. Eastern. From what we've heard, weather is going well. For tonight's launch, the crew was awoken at 11 a.m. Eastern this morning and has been going through their breakfast, med checks, then lunch, and then we're going to be going through the much busier part of the day of crew suit up, which we hope to be seeing here very shortly, and then going out to the pad. First crew launch we've seen in quite a while. Inspiration 4 was very different from what you will see here tonight. This is a NASA launch, so tonight's crew will be coming out those famous double doors, loading into those beautiful Teslas and heading out to pad 39A. Give me a brief moment here, and we'll pull up a couple of the other live streams. Of course, as I mentioned, as we went live, we are keeping an eye also on Starbase Texas as we await a possible static fire test there tonight. There's still about 2 hours left in their test window. At this time, no road closures have actually been set up. So they are coming down to, if we don't see any activity there in the next 30-40 minutes, that they will be out of time for their launch window here this evening. But a great night here, hopefully, for a launch of Crew-3. We've seen it delayed many, many times over the last couple of weeks, and we're excited to finally see them out at the pad getting ready for tonight's launch. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat, and we'll be answering those all night long. Just make sure to tag us at the launch pad, and that'll make sure that we are able to see those questions as they come in and answer them as we can. We, of course, will be bringing you full coverage from NASA and SpaceX of tonight's launch, so we will take pauses in our live commentary to hear updates on the crew and how everything is progressing towards tonight's targeted liftoff at 9:03 p.m. Eastern. Oh, we lost audio. There we go. Now, let's see if you can... Oop. Got it. I don't even know how that's coming through, but we got it. There we go. Thank you, guys. See, there's always one little thing. There's always something. But thank you. We are should have our audio there again. If you guys have questions, continue to send those in the chat. We'll be glad to answer them live as the night progresses here. Of course, we will patch in the mission control audio as they get started as well. It is an instantaneous launch window. I think that's probably where I got cut off for tonight. If there is a scrub for any reason, we do have another attempt tomorrow. Let's listen into SpaceX for an update on tonight's launch to the International Space Station.
Crew Dragon spacecraft on top of a Falcon 9 rocket set to launch 4 astronauts to the International Space Station in just a few hours. Today, a crew of 3 Americans and 1 European astronaut will set off on a 6-month science mission to the world's only orbiting laboratory. And welcome everyone to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for live coverage of NASA and SpaceX's launch of Crew-3. I'm Daryl Nail with NASA, and this is NASA's astronaut, Shannon Walker. So thrilled to have you here with our launch broadcast. First time for somebody who's actually flown on the Dragon.
Yes, I am so excited to be here. I figure if I can't actually be on the Dragon, this is the next best place to be.
There you go. And we left the model behind us with the door open just in case.
I'll go get in it. Yep.
Hey, listen, so the top story right now, we're seeing a little bit of weather. You can see it in the picture. Yep. We got some clouds behind us, but we currently sit at 70% go. Hopeful that holds.
Yep, hopefully it will hold. We've had a little bit of misty rain today, but it seems to be pushing out, so keep our fingers crossed that it'll keep on going.
We're hoping for that, and if you folks want to ask Shannon some questions and gain some of her expertise and what it was like to fly to space, you can participate by asking that question on Twitter. Just send a tweet with the hashtag AskNASA. And we'll get the question to her at various times throughout the broadcast. Let's begin now with a mission overview. In just over 4 hours at 9:03 p.m. Eastern Time, NASA astronauts Raja Chari, Tom Marshburn, Kayla Barron, and European Space Agency astronaut Matthais Maurer will lift off from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center as part of the Commercial Crew program. Now, when they lift off, this will be the 3rd operational mission.
Yes, indeed.
You were the first.
I was at first, yes. Our crew went up for 6 months, and now we're on our 3rd 6-month crew going to space station.
And so the Crew-3 will be flying a brand new Dragon, so they got that brand new spacecraft smell when they go inside.
So important.
It's called Endurance, and it's been named by the crew, of course, and their patch as well. We'll talk more about that in a bit. And it's on top of a refurbished Falcon 9 that launched CRS-22 back in June. So, covering all of the action around the country, our teams at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston, and of course, right here in Florida. Hello, folks. So, we'll also talk with the Crew-2 astronauts about how they prepared for Crew-3's arrival before they came back home. And of course, we'll answer those social media questions throughout the countdown. And you can send them in, as we mentioned, by just using the hashtag AskNASA on Twitter. Okay, let's talk about the crew and what they did. You're familiar with this.
Yes.
Prior to today's flight, the crew shifted their sleep schedule. Always a fun thing.
Yes.
Waking up late morning, and one of the first things they did was this. Let's take a look at some video here. They stuck their sticker on the wall, literally. Right below Crew 1 sticker, there's Crew 3, and then they gave it a tap, slapped it on the wall. It's a new tradition. And Shannon, I guess you started that, right? Your crew?
Well, yep. Well, I believe Demo 2 is there as well, but it's something crews like to do, leave their stickers wherever they are, so we put it on inside crew quarters.
And then you see them here. They are awaiting breakfast. They looked hungry.
They did look hungry.
Food hadn't been served yet.
Nope. Ready to eat.
They're ready to eat. Ready to eat that pre-launch meal. And so we're ready to chow down on a launch if we can get that to happen today. So now, just about 90 minutes ago, that last meal, that will prepare them for liftoff. And what did you eat before you went to space?
Yeah, everyone in our crew ate something different, but I was in the mood for a good old hamburger. So I had a cheeseburger and an arugula salad to offset it.
A good beefy hamburger, huh?
Yes.
You went big. That's great. Well, lunch was followed by medical checks, flight day preparations, and then getting dressed and suited up for space flight. And the NASA helicopter, we want you to know, is here
It's
getting
right there.
Yeah, we're hoping to get some great aerial shots as well. At T-minus 4 hours and 5 minutes, NASA will turn Crew-3 over to the SpaceX team, and then we'll see some key milestones along the way to liftoff. The first one is suit up inside NASA's Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building, or the O&C. After they're dressed, the suits are then pressure checked. After suit up, we'll see the crew walk out. The astronauts will leave the O&C building and give their final goodbyes, and this can be an emotional moment for some. Following the goodbyes, the crew will then get in their Teslas and begin the roughly 20-minute drive to Pad 39A. And once there, the 4 astronauts will ascend to the 255-foot level of the fixed service structure. Crew ingress follows, basically astronauts boarding or getting inside the spacecraft. And then after all the vehicle and crew checkouts are completed, the SpaceX closeout team will close Dragon's side hatch with the crew safely inside. At T-minus 40 minutes, the crew access arm, which is the long suspended walkway that you can see there it is in the shot, they'll use that to board Dragon, and then that will retract, followed by the arming of the launch escape system. Propellant loading on Falcon 9 follows. Then at T-minus 5 minutes, Dragon will be configured for what is called terminal count. And then finally, at T0, Crew Dragon and Falcon 9 will lift off, and roughly 12 minutes after that, separation from Falcon 9's second stage, and then Dragon flies to the destination, the International Space Station. That entire timeline, you lived it, you rehearsed it, Shannon. I wonder about that moment where you're saying goodbye. We're going to see that not long from now to your family and friends.
Yeah, it is an emotional moment. So everybody's here down wishing you well, but saying goodbye to your family, it's hard on both sides.
All right. Well, we begin with crew suit up just a few minutes away, but we want to introduce our team at SpaceX headquarters in California to show us what's happening there. Courtney?
Hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I'm NASA's Courtney Beasley, and thank you for joining us live for the 4th flight of astronauts on Crew Dragon to the International Space Station.
I'm Jesse Anderson, a production and engineering manager here at SpaceX. And right next to us is Mission Control Hawthorne, where our teams are monitoring the vehicle, checking in on all of its systems, and the capsule is currently go for launch.
That's right, and once the crew lifts off, it will take them about 22 hours to reach their destination, the International Space Station, with Dragon flying autonomously the entire way. But the crew will have the ability to take manual control of Endurance at any time if necessary.
To help make sure the crew has a safe journey, our team in Mission Control will be monitoring their progress along the way. On console or headset are 6 key positions who are monitoring the health of the vehicle and the crew. The mission director, who is responsible for mission success, is in charge in the room. The person that you'll hear talking to the astronauts is the crew operations and resources engineer, or what you'll hear is called the core. The other positions are focused on vehicle systems like navigation and control, avionics, software, propulsion, life support, and communications with ground segments.
And NASA has its own team members in Mission Control Houston, where they've been preparing the International Space Station for Crew Dragon's arrival. We'll meet several of the key players later when we check in with Houston. For now, though, let's go to John Innsbrucker for an operational update on the launch countdown. John.
Hi, I'm John Innsbrucker, Falcon 9 Principal Integration Engineer here at SpaceX. We're just over 4 hours to launch. And over the next few minutes, the SpaceX NASA teams will undergo a series of polls to verify that the advanced team and the crew are ready to enter the pad and the spacecraft. There's also going to be a countdown briefing that goes over items such as crew, weather, and vehicle status. Now, leading up to tonight's launch, the SpaceX team performed a static fire of the Falcon with Dragon vehicle back on 27 October. This ran the team and the flight hardware through the countdown. We ran the engines for 7 seconds. Now, following the static fire, we drained the rocket of propellants, and we did a full dress rehearsal for the crew on October 28th. The crew suited up, they entered the capsule, and they performed the countdown steps with the Dragon flight team. Now, once the rehearsal was complete and the crew was out of the capsule, the SpaceX and NASA teams loaded the final cargo into lockers on the floor of the Dragon capsule. Now, as you see on the video there, the Falcon 9 with Dragon has remained vertical on pad 39A since those tests, waiting out weather and the schedule for tonight's launch attempt. Our next major activity is going to be arrival of the crew just inside T-minus 3 hours. Now, while the crew and the hardware currently go, we're also keeping an eye on the weather as another important factor in a launch. The astronauts just received their weather briefing about 10 minutes ago before we went live with the broadcast. While we're watching cumulus crowds, possible precipitation, we expect that the weather will stay west of the launch pad and it will be improving through the evening. So currently, no issues with the weather. Now, in the event things don't go as planned, such as an abort, SpaceX and NASA are coordinating with the U.S. Coast Guard to ensure crew safety upon splashdown. This includes extra ships and air assets to patrol the 10 nautical mile keep-out zone. This is to help mitigate safety concerns for any boaters approaching the landing area. Now, as usual for Dragon flights, we have an instantaneous launch window. That means we can't move the launch time. We have to go right on the planned minute and second. But if we do need to delay, there is a backup launch opportunity from Kennedy Space Center the evening of 11 November, about 23 minutes earlier than tonight. But right now, with everything go at the pad, let's head over to Houston, where NASA's Sandra Jones is standing by. Sandra.
Thanks, John, and welcome to Mission Control Houston. You're inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston, Texas at NASA's Johnson Space Center. Mission Control Houston is the nerve center for operating the International Space Station, working in tandem with our partner agencies and providers around the globe. Together, we've ensured the station is ready to welcome Crew-3 as the 4 astronauts arrive and join the current Expedition 66 crew. Leading the team inside the room right now is Flight Director Rebecca Wingfield, as the crew on board station has just entered their sleep period to prepare to support approach monitoring tomorrow. Wingfield will return as NASA Flight Director for Dragon's approach and docking, and she'll lead the joint NASA-SpaceX go-no-goes once we're in joint operations with mission controls here in Houston and at SpaceX in Hawthorne, working in sync to bring Crew Dragon to its new home in space. Earlier today, the International Space Station's Russian Progress 79 engines fired for 6 minutes 2 seconds at 2:15 p.m. Central Time in a planned maneuver to raise the altitude of station as a reboost, replacing a planned station maneuver next week designed to set up the correct phasing conditions for the launch of the Pre-Shal node module on November 24th and the launch of the Soyuz MS-20 spacecraft next month. The maneuver had the collateral effect of placing the station well away from the predicted path of a small piece of Chinese satellite debris identified yesterday by ballistics officials who track such objects in orbit. The maneuver raised the station's orbit by 1.1 miles at apogee and 0.3 of a mile at perigee. The complex is now orbiting at an altitude of 265.3 by 257.3 statute miles. Although ballistics specialists reported that the debris posed no threat to the station or the crew, we proceeded with the maneuver to avoid any issues to the Crew Dragon rendezvous after launch. Docking by the SpaceX Crew Dragon Endurance to the International Space Station is still planned for 6:10 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. A little bit later, I'll go through more of the work we've been doing in space and on the ground to prepare the station for Crew-3's arrival. Until then, we'll keep an eye on today's countdown, and we'll check back in with you soon. So for now, let's head back to Daryl in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center for the latest with launch preparations. Daryl?
All right, thank you, Sandra. And we are now live inside the suit-up room where the Crew-3 astronauts are getting their final checks of their spacesuits. You can see it there. This is a suit-up room, very familiar to you, Shannon. You were here not too long ago.
Not too long ago, just a year ago. It's hard to believe it's already been a year.
Imagine that. And there we see the commander for this mission, Roger Chari. He is seated and getting his suit checked out. Tell me a little bit, Shannon, about this process. What all is going to happen as they sit there and the suit techs work on them?
Yeah, so what they're doing is they're checking what we call the integrity of the suit. So it's 2 things they're looking for. They're looking for that the suit will hold pressure in case the astronauts need it in an emergency, and they're checking to make sure that the communication links inside the suit are working.
And those suit techs, they all have numbers on their backs, and they are attending to the astronauts. Why are they all numbered?
They're numbered so we can keep track of who is whom out there. Some of those suit techs will be going on to the launch pad to work with the technical teams at the launch pad, and so just so we can keep track of who is doing what where.
And this is a very historic room, Shannon. Of course, astronauts have been suiting up here and getting checked out, since the Gemini program.
Yes, indeed. It is historic. You can see some of the old equipment there in the background. We're not using it now, but we left it in there with SpaceX left it in there. So just to remind us of what our history is.
It's a nice touch, along with the paintings on the wall and the pictures on the wall. As you mentioned, those are gauges and dials back there, but they're not currently in use. As they're sitting there, these seats, I understand, are just like the ones inside the Dragon?
That's correct. They're going to check things out just as they are going to be in the Dragon. So that's why they have those seats. The crew will get strapped in, get their seatbelts on before they pressurize.
And there's a wide shot of the room with the 4 Crew-3 astronauts. We have Commander Raja Chari, pilot Thomas Marshburn, mission specialist Kayla Barron, and Matthais Maurer. And we have other astronauts in the room as well, Shannon. You can see them surrounding some of the astronauts who are flying. And what is their role today?
So there's a couple of different sets of people in there. We have their flight doctors associated with the crew. So there's, I believe, 3 flight doctors in there watching this process. And then we have another astronaut, what we call our crew support astronaut, who has been training with the crew, working with the crew, and also is there just to help out for all the stuff that's happening today.
And you see they've got equipment there on the table. I imagine they're looking to check whether that suit pressurizes properly?
Exactly. That equipment is exactly designed for that, to check the pressure and the communications.
And it's not the only pressure check, right?
No, once the crew gets back in or gets into the capsule, they will do a pressure check of their suits inside the capsule to make sure that
Pigeon
nothing
operators
happened
on countdown
between...
time. The clock continues countdown to a liftoff time of 9:03:31 p.m. local with an instantaneous window. We have no cola closures for tonight's T0, and likely not a surprise, but launch recycle is not an option for our instantaneous window this evening. At this time, the crew is at the O&C building and stepping into suit donning. Launch pad was cleared shortly after 1 this afternoon. At this time, Falcon 9 CVs are at MEOP, and the majority of the pre-launch checkouts are complete, with the exception of a few engine checkouts that will occur after preps, with the next milestone being initiating LOX GC system chill around T-minus 3 hours. One follow-up on the drone ship, which is watch item coming into today. The drone ship and the support boat Bob arrived on the landing zone with plenty of margin around T-minus 5 hours and 30 minutes, and are stepping into the final day of launch checkouts, and will be on station to support tonight's attempt.
And that was
upper level winds look great for tonight's attempt. We're tracking well below our allowables at 70% on gimbal and 81% on loads. And as briefed with the crew at T-minus 4 hours and 20 minutes, launch PV for this evening is at 30%, with primary watch items being cumulus cloud roll and flight through preset. Weather is forecast to improve throughout the evening, independent of what it looks like out the window at this time. There are no constraints to the performance of any sections of the Falcon or Dragon launch countdown procedures, and one note for all operators that 52.911 is open and to be utilized for any required crew contingency action. For all operators in Firing Room 4 at KSC, and those at MCCX main and support room. All 3 control rooms go into a lockdown at T-minus 45 minutes, and all operators shall remain at their console monitoring their system and maintaining full focus while the launch escape system is armed. Please note, in the event of a scrub, that the launch escape system will remain armed until the completion of propellant offload. I will reiterate this note to the team around T-minus 1 hour. CE, can you please provide a status of Falcon 9 health?
CE here. Falcon 9 is healthy, and we're tracking no issues that would preclude an on-time launch this evening.
Thanks, sir.
All right, that's a good call out by the launch director there for SpaceX. Everything sounding good. I particularly appreciated that he said, despite the way it looks outside the window, which is gray and cloudy,
yep,
and a little rainy.
Yep.
Hoping the weather's going to pass.
Hoping the weather's going to pass, and we'll be able to launch tonight.
Hey, MD, could you please provide a status on Dragon Health?
Checking no issues for launch today.
Thank you, ma'am. That's good to hear. At this time, there are no additional notes for the countdown briefing. If there are no additional comments or questions, the briefing will proceed in tonight's attempt.
Really quick, want to note on the screen, number 23, that's astronaut Stephanie Wilson, who a veteran of
LD out.
veteran of space shuttle flights.
Yes, she's had 3 space shuttle flights, and she's been training as the backup to this crew. So she is the one that's there helping them out, being the astronaut most engaged with this particular crew.
And she'll go all the way out to the pad,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's a great shot of her there as she provides that support that's really important to the astronauts.
It is important. It's really important to have somebody that knows what you're going through to lend a hand.
This is the 3rd rotational crew to fly on a commercial spacecraft, and of course they bring a diverse set of experiences to today's flight. Air Force, he holds degrees in astronautical engineering and aeronautics. Chari is also a combat veteran, having flown the F-15E aircraft during
CE, MD
Operation
on
Rocky
countdown
Freedom.
1, comm check.
CE, com check. How do you read me?
I got you 5x5. Tell me.
You as well.
And LD, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
And LD, I have you 5x5. How me?
Okay, great. Got you 5x5 as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
And we'll hear these communication checks throughout the launch broadcast, and we'll try to pause so that you can hear those. Oftentimes, they include some big milestones. We were talking about Raja Chari. He actually deployed to the Korean Peninsula. As a test pilot, he has accumulated more than 2,500 hours of flight time in various military aircraft. Shannon, it's his first trip to space, and he's the commander.
I know that is actually quite unusual, but it's just a testament to all the experience he brought to the office and all the hard work he's been putting in getting trained up for this flight.
Absolutely. Pilot Tom Marshburn is suiting up for his 3rd space flight. He's the veteran. He previously flew on the Space Shuttle Endeavour in STS-127 and on the Russian Soyuz in Expedition 3435 while helping assemble the International Space Station on STS-127. Marshburn performed 3 spacewalks totaling almost 19 hours. The North Carolina native holds degrees in physics and medicine, and Shannon, he's the Crew-3 pilot, and you were both in the same astronaut graduating class of 2004, I understand?
We were, and it's really nice to be able to see some of my classmates going up into space.
And he's got, he came from emergency medicine, so he's a good guy to have on board.
He's a good guy to have on board, absolutely.
Mission Specialist Kayla Barron is about to make her first trip to space. The Washington State native has degrees in nuclear engineering and systems engineering. As a submarine warfare officer, she was a member of the first class of